So for this circles, there is a 10% target yearly return that I read, along with a 40 euro minimum price ticket. How does that work for a normal investor? Can you take me through the journey?
Co-living is there's a lot of it's underpinned by community, and you can relatively see an easy fit with how then fractional ownership can blend into that concept underpinning co-living.
It's listed with a 500,000 euro tokenized property price. I saw in some news article.
Yes, it's correct. 500,000 euro is representing only a part of the complete financing of that project. It is much larger than 500,000
So I
euros.
would love for you to share your story, your journey, what you have done before, and how you landed up to this place where you started a venture in tokenization. Hey Pascal, welcome to What Are You Tokenizing? How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me. All good. Greetings from the UK, from Manchester.
So around 3 p.m. in the afternoon for you.
Correct. So still very much in the regular working hours. Thanks for that.
Amazing, amazing. And wouldn't like it any other way, because I know that you have been working on your tokenization platform for the last 2 years, and it's one of the longest times that I've interviewed someone who is building in the space for so much of time. Mostly people have started just 1 year ago or 6 months ago, but it's great to meet someone who has started 2 years ago, because I know that planning goes even way beyond that. You have to plan for a lot of time and then start building it. And then when you start building, it takes a lot of more time. So great to have you here, and looking forward to having a lot of insights from you for our audience.
Happy to share. You're welcome.
Amazing. To start with, Pascal, how I generally love to share the insights with the audience is that we try to showcase that the founders who are now building the new foundation of the changing world order and who are disrupting the tokenization industry, they are not just any founders. They have had their own experiences. They have gone through a journey, and that's why they know which is the right asset that they want to tokenize. So I would love for you to share your story, your journey, what you have done before, and how you landed up to this a place where you started a venture in tokenization.
Yeah. So I have a background in, I would say, more corporate finance, and then I did a lot of real estate projects, greenfield projects, mainly in Central Europe, Slovakia, to be more precise, for a large automotive company. So that's where I really started to go into real estate development, also from both the financial and the operational side, because this was really, as these were greenfield sites, this was really building up something from scratch. So we went through all the phases, which will say occurs into real estate investing and real estate development, from the starting with the financing, going to the permitting, construction, and getting, I would say, the asset into operation. At that moment, we were really focused on production sites. So, and more specifically, even more production sites focused on automotive business. So that's where I would say the appetite for real estate investing and development somehow already grew in the past. And then I would say 5 years ago, I started really looking into blockchain and some potential use cases. At that moment, for sure, it was still early days when it comes about when it considers tokenization and fractional ownership. That was really still very novel, and it's, I would say, in its very early stage. But I started looking into the potential, and very quickly somehow I detected that just the technology itself opened for sure a potential of bringing real estate investing into a larger public, because of the opportunity to basically split up a property into multiple smaller fractions, which is happening today. For sure, at that moment, the legal framework was still very gray, unclear. Different areas, different jurisdictions had different rules. It's even the case today, but then it was even much worse. At least now there is already some harmonization. And then, well, I would say my appetite and my interest for the technology behind blockchain and the experience into from real estate investing and development somehow pushed me to find a good use case. And that came really also when I had multiple discussions with people around me that really were like suffering in terms of finding affordable housing. And that somehow came at the same moment when then there was the first trend into more shared environment or shared living environments, some hybrid concepts. Co-living, shared living started to pop up, still very nascent, very new at that moment. You can very quickly see co-living is there's a lot of underpinned by community, and you can relatively see an easy fit with how then fractional ownership can blend into that concept underpinning co-living. And that's where I would say the whole idea behind Portio somehow started. It used to have another name in the past. It was rebranded Portio only 2 years ago. It started with a different name, but at least it was the same idea. But that's where we took it further from there. So my background is in finance, is in real estate, and then I would say the project came across thanks to my interest in fintech and technology, and more specifically in blockchain, and into some new novel living concepts, one of them being co-living.
Amazing, amazing. See, this is the kind of insight that is, I think, worth the whole uh, effort of doing this podcast. Just because you have been in the industry for so long, you could see the potential of disruption. You could see the challenges that people were facing in the normal industry, and when the right technology came in that can help you solve those challenges, you just did that, right? It's not like you jumped into a use case after thinking, oh, this is a good use case, maybe it can make some money. It's to solve real challenges, and that's what makes it worth it. Amazing. So, for context for our audience, your featured deal, Circles Andorra, I'm pronouncing it right, I hope.
Correct, yes.
So it's listed with a 500,000 tokenized property price. I saw in some news article. I'm not sure if that's the right number right now as well.
Yes, it's still correct. Just to put it into a larger perspective, 500,000 euro is representing only a part of the complete financing of that project. So the project is much larger than 500,000 euro. As we are starting a platform, starting project, we also have to be realistic in our expectations in terms of what we can potentially raise for the project. So we are tokenizing only a part of the complete project financing stack. And that's also one of, I would say, the benefits and the opportunities tokenization brings. You can obviously tokenize a complete project when it comes to its funding or financing stack, but you can as well as evenly tokenize only a certain percentage, a certain part of the complete funding need. And that's where then the opportunity of tokenization also partly lays in bringing a partial funding to the financing table.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, rather than, so obviously you can tokenize something and have fractional ownership of a big asset, but at the same time tokenization also allows you to own a part of that asset, a part of the asset, so to say. So it gives more
Correct.
vertically lined opportunities. So for this Circles, there is a 10% target yearly return that I read, along with the 40 euro minimum price ticket. How does that work for a normal investor? Can you take me through the journey?
So basically, how we structured this first project is that we guarantee a minimum return from day one, which is a base return of 5%. We can do this because the legal structure behind the project is a debt, is a loan. So a loan between us and the project owner with certain minimum interest rates guaranteed. And we then also add to the opportunity a variable component as the asset, as the project grows in its maturity and in its revenue. We, Portio, and our investors will also benefit from the additional returns that can be that will be let's say gained and made by Circles. So the opportunity is in terms of from the return point of view is it's a minimum guaranteed return of 5%, and we expect this to go up to 10% within a period of 3 years. And that's how we structure it, and that's how we, let's say, put the opportunity into.
Got it. Got it. So I also read that Portio was incubated by both Coling Ventures and it was accelerated by Startup Bootcamp. That's a great fiat, right? You got two good names who are supporting the project and show their trust in the project. I see, and we all, when we see on the internet, okay, a lot of projects get incubated and accelerated, but we always wonder what's the value they are getting. Can you share something that both co-living ventures and startup bootcamp, did for your platform? How they maybe contributed something, or what kind of support they gave, or how they shaped the idea further?
I would say they played a specific role in the project. The role has now, I would say, diminished because we went into a next stage. But for sure, these both co-living ventures and startup bootcamp were important in getting the project off the ground. The added value of co-living ventures has been from the beginning bringing in knowledge and, I would say, knowledge and network within the co-living and shared living industry across the globe, mainly Europe, but the network and then I would say the company behind, or the company co-living ventures itself, has a lot of connections and is very well connected within the co-living and shared living industry, has also some of the leading media formats for this. Co-living Ventures is the company behind I would say, the largest co-living exhibition in the world, which is the Co-living Conference, which will now have its 5th anniversary and is taking place in Barcelona in October, which basically brings together all the important stakeholders in the industry. They have other media platforms and outlets and formats as well. So that has been a big help from the beginning to get connected and get visibility in our target audience. Startup Bootcamp was very helpful in pushing further I would say, to bring it from idea to really a investable opportunity, further the product market fit, getting ready for investment through building further the team. So some of the team members which are part of Portio now have been found through the Startup Bootcamp Accelerator. And so they played also an important role in putting that next step for the project. And obviously, these are both, I would say, important enablers in terms of credibility when you talk to potential investors or co-living operators or whoever who may be of interest for us. It is useful to have this type of partners which you can refer to, even if today they play a less active role. It is important to be able to use them as some kind of an early stage believer of the project.
Amazing. So one brought the subject matter expertise and other brought the frameworks to give it the proper shape. And your vision and your innovation took the right form and then grew it, right? That's great. I think that's a very strong combination, and we are seeing its effect. So I saw that you are building on Blockscale protocol, and in another episode before our recording, we have also done one podcast with the CEO of Blockscale, and I mean, it's an amazing protocol. But what led you specifically to choose Blockscale for building Portio's marketplace?
A few things. We are European based. We are based in legally in Luxembourg, if you want. The team is physically remote only working, but we are all based somehow in Europe. So ideally, we had a European partner. I think just from a cultural point of view and in terms of communication, it can be helpful. We also looked at a partner that had already legacy and credibility in the market. And I think Blocksberg was one of the first to really offer this tokenization engine. And they were then also even more specifically focused on real estate. One of the few ones who was really focused on real estate. They were also competing or complementary, whatever you want to call it, offerings in the market already available, but they were potentially more generic. I think the approach from Blocksberg always has been their focus on real estate, which is also what serves our needs. So that's, I think, the second criterion, which was really important, that was potentially even more important than where they were based. Being the fact that they were quite early also made it, made it for us gave it the necessary credibility. Because obviously the protocol and the stack in the meantime tokenized over 200 million of worth of real estate. So as a team, they went through some learning curves as well, but for sure, us joining after I think they were already operating 4 or 5 years when we joined them. It was just useful and helpful to be able to rely on a partner who has already been in the business for a couple of years. And I think the third item, which is really important as well, and that's where they are a little bit different than other providers, is that from the very beginning, they focused a lot on building an ecosystem around it, which always had been the target to build liquidity around the whole offering. And that's why they come up with Ocean Point and then the different liquidity pools and different types of people to get engaged with, which also allows us as a marketplace operator to somehow tap into that network and benefit from the investor community they have already on board. And that's where I see them being different than other solutions offered today. And that was for us also one of the reasons why we really pushed it further with them, leading then to also the opportunity we were given. I think we were the first project to got the opportunity to use their launchpad, which basically allows us to use the tool at certain, I would say, favorable conditions. We were elected in June. We got a commitment from some of their BST token holders into our liquidity pool, and that has enabled us to push forward with the project in a stable and favorable way when it comes to technology. And we opted for a existing technology to do a relatively quick market proof check rather than developing for potentially 2 or 3 years, spending
Yes.
hundreds of thousands of USD or euro, and potentially see there is no appetite for what we are building. So that was also the reason why we went for an existing solution rather than to start building code from scratch by yourself.
These kind of insights that you're sharing, this is now helping you understand why Portio is going in this successful direction. When you ask any Web3 native person, by Web3 native I mean who doesn't have any other experience, who is just into Web3 when they started working out, the first thing that they do is partner with any company. It's the most obvious fact we all know, that they always start doing partnership with every place. But the right partnership with the right decision and the right theory in the back end, that's what makes the platform successful. And I think with the experience that you have, when you make such decisions, that's how you can lead the industry. Because I've not seen a lot of projects in the co-living space. Everyone talks about affordable housing. Everyone wants to build something in the affordable housing space and in other forms of property tokenization rather than just tokenizing big skylines. But Portio stands for me as a great example of how efforts can be aligned in the right direction.
Yeah, and we are really very strict to our positioning. We also get inquiries from real estate developers and project owners who potentially want to use our platform, but these are projects where there is no fit. For us, it's really about sticking to our narrative when it comes to the type of assets we are interested in, and it is shared living, co-living, and that can go into different directions. Co-living really evolved a lot. It started potentially with from, I would say, young graduates, young professionals, but now in the meantime there are co-living types of co-living for very different audiences. Senior co-living has been growing steadily the past 2 to 3 years as well. You have now also more, I would say, experience type of co-livings, retreats, pop-up co-livings. There's plenty of diversification. But for us, it is really about supporting projects that indeed support this affordable housing. I would say at least bring a part of the solution of that problem, and which are also projects with a vision also in terms of community building, because we firmly believe that on the long end, the models and the schemes that will prevail and that will be successful will be the ones who can successfully implement community building and community engagement in and around the opportunity and the assets. So yeah, we are really focused on only on this type of assets, and that's where we think on the long term, we expect to be to profit from this clear positioning. Puts ourselves aside the large number of more generic platforms which are out there already, and I would say every month there is a new platform popping up. We want to stick to our niche and build further from there.
Amazing. So one statement that you said, maintaining a strong stance on your brand and your, initial vision, that you're sticking to it no matter what kind of distractions come. I think that's something that I've observed in all the projects in the European side that I've seen and interviewed people in the past couple of months, whether it's Dennis from Blockscare or Max from Pixel, or now, I'll say Pascal from Portio. Everyone has this vision that they are following, and it's making all the difference. And that's where the whole ecosystem is growing quite well in the European side. But there was one other thing that you mentioned in the previous answer, that you are based out of Luxembourg, right? So your tokenization platform is based out of Luxembourg. Why?
That's an interesting question, because the whole legal context around tokenization, I would say, has been one of the most challenging ones, one of the most challenging items to solve in putting together a project. Because to be honest, from the tech side of things, don't get me wrong, I'm not diminishing the importance of having a good technology, but this is something, well, I mean, there are already quite some solutions out there. So it's something you can, if you find the correct partner, and I think you can somehow fill in relatively, easy is maybe the wrong word, but at least there are ways to solve that part of the puzzle. But finding the correct legal structure is really an important and a challenging one. And the thing is that things really started to move when it comes to tokenization, and specifically for real world assets. I would say the past 2.5 years. Before, as I mentioned in the very beginning, it was a lot of ambiguity, a lot of gray zones, different rules for different jurisdictions, different regions. For sure now with MiCA regulation, more clear MiFID regulations, a lot of things became more, I would say, transparent, also in Europe, but also in other jurisdictions like the US. They also made a lot of progress in creating clarity on what is allowed, what is not allowed, what is considered to be a security, what's not. So that has been a move which is relatively recent. I mean, really things started to accelerate on that angle the past, I would say, 24 months. So that's something that just needed to happen to accelerate things in our industry. Luxembourg is I would say, an area with, it has a very progressive attitude towards blockchain adaptation, the use of blockchain in their financial and legal framework already since a long time. I mean, they were one of the first countries to have a like a blockchain law, if you want, which then they also tied with securitization. And then obviously you come very close to already to a legal framework that can be applied for tokenization. Luxembourg, together with some other countries in Europe, is, I would say, one of the most reputed financial hubs in Europe. It's the country of all the funds and all the financial vehicles. I'd say the bulk is based in Luxembourg. So it also adds a certain layer of credibility to what we are doing. So I would say the reason why we chose Luxembourg is because the availability of now a clear and transparent framework that is quite flexible and favorable to our business, together with then the reputation Luxembourg has towards investors. These were like the two criteria that led us deciding for them instead of other potentially more exotic countries in Europe.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with you there, and great to have those kind of details to make a more informed decision, because I have seen Luxembourg in a lot of news related to blockchain initiatives. I think just 1 month ago, Coinbase announced that it will plan its hub in Luxembourg after getting MiCA license. So that's definitely a place to be for a lot of financial companies and tokenization companies who are looking to make finance easy worldwide. But great to know the context behind that. So coming back to your platform, Portio, we have covered certain aspects, how Portio was envisioned, established, how it's carrying out, where it is based, which protocol it's using. But I wanted to know a bit more in terms of how a tokenization platform provides its end users the trust or the associability that they can invest in real estate with them. So, for instance, I giving a more direct question. I'm just going here and there with this, but what real-time metrics do you share with the investors of your platform? Let's say if I am an investor, I invest 40 euro in a tokenized property on a platform. What is the real-time metrics, or what kind of information am I getting?
So what we do is every opportunity that is on our platform obviously goes to a pretty hefty due diligence from our team. So we are really screening projects on their financial merits. So there is I would say, a in-depth due diligence done internally. What we then do, second, is that we are also having the project screened by a real estate assessment tool, if you want, which has been developed by Blocksquare themselves. You know that Blocksquare has been tokenizing, I think now over 140 projects in very different jurisdictions. So they build up their own tool for assessing financial strength and also, I would say, partly the compliance of the projects they are that are tokenized on their market. This assessment results in a report, which is then also shared with the investment community. So everyone who is potentially interested in investing and joining the opportunity gets access to a detailed property report, which is not generated by ourselves, but I would say generated by a third party. And thirdly, obviously, what we will do on a yearly basis is there is an external evaluation of the asset, which is done on a yearly basis, which will be then also made available on chain to the community. So that's the way how we try to ensure and enhance the trust level on the projects itself. When it comes to the environment around the project, the company itself, Portio, as said, I think we are doing the right things, and it comes to in terms of compliance, legal structure, legal compliance, financial compliance. That's also why we will be able to announce some important new investors coming in. And that's also because we are doing the right things when it comes to how we structure the business. And so when you invest with us, I think we try to be as clear as possible on these items. What is the token representing? What is the legal status of the token? How is the company structured? And what is the real value? What is the real merit of the assets we are offering for investment? And that's then partly done also by external parties, external resources. So that's how we try to build the layer of trust around what we are doing.
Amazing. So there are a lot of key steps in this whole, I'll say, supply chain in a sense, right? And I think most of them would have been restricted you to a particular geography. Am I correct in that?
For the moment, or just from a I would say from a strategic point of view, from our go-to-market, we feel that Southern Europe is a part of our regional focus because it's a region with strong growth in co-living itself. Co-living has been already strong there, I would say, since a couple of years, and it's still growing and gaining momentum. But we are not limited to Europe when it comes to the projects we can potentially support. You can structure tokenization in different ways. It's a little bit more difficult from a legal point of view when you are really opening the opportunity to co-ownership and really, let's say, link the token with a legal ownership or a partial ownership of the asset held by a legal entity. That's for sure a little bit more complex to get that structured outside of Europe. It is relatively straightforward within Europe, but it's a little bit more difficult when you go outside of Europe. When you're organizing it through a debt structure, a loan, to put it simply, then the opportunity to go outside Europe is there. It's an easier way of doing things. From a strategic market priority, we are looking at the moment into Southern Europe. That's where we are trying to develop the project and also the use base. But it will not stop us. We won't. We will definitely also continue looking into other countries, specifically the Middle East. So there's a lot of things going on in the Emirates, in Dubai more specifically, potentially also in Abu Dhabi. Their adaptation and attitude towards fractional ownership and tokenization has made waves the past couple of months. And this is also something we are looking at. Next to that, the region is growing like hell in terms of headcount, in terms of people. So we also see that there is definitely an opportunity there for shared living, co-living concepts. So next to Southern Europe, we are also looking into the Middle East because of the potential fit with co-living as a concept and the favorable, I would say, attitude towards tokenization from a legal point of view, and also the adaptation already from tokenization in the local investor community. I mean, they tokenized some first projects now with the backing of the local authorities from the government, and these projects sold out in hours. So you can feel that there is a certain momentum, a certain positive vibe in that region as well. And this is something we're also looking into potentially for one of the next projects to get involved with.
Amazing. This has to be a record though. We spent more than 30 minutes without talking about Dubai. And in all the conversations, Dubai and UAE always naturally comes up when you are talking about tokenization. So this has to be a record.
I did my best to avoid it to the last, to keep it to the last,
Absolutely.
sorry.
Wonderful. I have just a couple more questions before I let you go. I know you have a lot of work. It's a busy
No
Monday
problem, you're
morning.
welcome.
Take more of your time on that front. So, what is the number one characteristic that defines success of a tokenized platform, in your opinion?
For me, I think it's really about being able to deliver a layer of trust. And it's really about trust, because at the end of the day, this is an investment product. You expect people to get their money out and put it into an opportunity, which is potentially remote, very remote. So it's the project that will be successful are the ones that can really deliver on that requested trust layer. And the trust layer comes with the quality of the project and the quality of the structure of the company as such, and the quality of how the project itself is then structured, and giving clarity from the legal point of view. What is this token representing? What is it not representing? Giving clarity on who is behind the company, who is owning. I think all these things are very important and can be the differentiator between failure and success.
Amazing. And I guess with the process that you're already following at Portio, you are already quite close to being 100% trusted partner for all the investors on your platform.
That's too early. Andorra is the first opportunity we are launching. We have to build this trust. I do believe, I am convinced that we are doing the right things in terms of structuring. So we are teaming up, I think, with the right partners. We are selecting the correct jurisdiction. We are selecting the correct structures. I think there we did what it takes to be trustworthy in the future. But I am very conscious that this trust is something that will take time to build up, and that's a long play. I think we are doing the correct steps, but I do feel that we still have a way to go and steps to take to really be able to that we had and that we have in the meantime achieved 100% trustworthiness. I think that's too early in our existence.
Perfect. Completely understand your viewpoint there. So, if let's say there is a person who wants to invest in real estate tokenization, maybe through Portio, maybe through any other platform, what would be that one educational resource you would recommend to that person so that they can understand how to do real estate tokenization investment, or even just understand real estate tokenization as a whole?
What I would do from, I would say, as a potential investor, is the first thing I would check is how is the opportunity structured from a legal point of view. By that I mean, what is the token representing? How is it, and which compliance, which regulations they are following under? What is the jurisdiction? For me, that would be the first thing. That's always, to be honest, when I'm looking into other platforms, that's the first thing I'm looking at. Where are they based? Which jurisdiction, which legal framework they act under, they comply with, and what is the legal structure of the token representing the potential fractional ownership, or for a tax, or I would say share in the return of a debt product. That is how I look at when I look into new platforms. That's the first thing I'm looking at.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I think that's the most elaborative answer I've gotten for this kind of question. Thank you so much for your time today, Pascal. I just have one last question. This is more out of a curiosity rather than for a general audience information. But you have been working in the co-living tokenization space, right? And it's not that big of a space right now in terms of how it's being tokenized and how it's being changed in terms of a perception for other people to think about co-living. What is that dream city that you would love to tokenize from a co-living project perspective?
The dream city. I'm a big fan of Southern Europe. So, and I think I would be really pretty excited if we would be able to do things in, I would say, which is a very challenging environment for other reasons. But yeah, that would be, if you talk about now on the short term, my dream destination, just from a use case, potentially it would be like the south of Italy. That would be the one I would be focused on. That would give a lot of attention. But I think the region has certain challenges, which doesn't make it an obvious.
Wow. So I think after Italian cuisines and Italian suits, maybe the world will get a chance to invest in Italian properties someday.
Let's hope, and let's hope it's with us.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all these insights, Pascal. It was really an interesting conversation and a lot of good inputs that have helped me also understand much more about co-living tokenization and what's being done in that part of the world. Thank you for your time today on a busy Monday morning, and I look forward to more conversations with more insights from you.
Thanks, and thank you for having me.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.